Amazon says that it will not build a headquarters in New York after mounting opposition. This is according to a company statement. According to multiple reports, we have reached out and we'll update when we hear back. But of course, David, there has been a lot of opposition from local politicians as well as advocacy groups to this project. And last week, the Washington Post had reported that Amazon was reconsidering its plans to open up there and hire as many as 25,000 employees and put in huge amounts of investments. The controversy was a lot surrounding the tax breaks and the incentives that New York wanted to give Amazon. And remember, there were some very high-profile names like Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who was against this project. We'll see how this plays out. But Amazon now saying, according to multiple reports, that it will not build that new headquarters in New York.
Thank you, Deirdre. Well, personally, as a lifelong New Yorker, I was surprised to a certain extent, but very much pleased, I think, as were the vast majority of New Yorkers, that Amazon would consider and be building a second headquarters in Queens. Certainly very important for the city's economy, particularly one that's been relying on financial services for so many years. There was a handful of opponents. We talked to Jimmy Van Bramer, city councilman from Queens. Another gentleman they spoke to on Squawk, I think, yesterday, and AOC, although she has nothing to do with it. She's a federal legislator, not a local one. But certainly many people will be deeply disappointed, I think, in the New York City area, including Governor Cuomo. And Mayor Bill de Blasio, both of whom fought for and succeeded in securing Amazon, to the surprise of many.
It's a good thing that Cuomo didn't change his name. I guess that would have been a lot of paperwork to Amazon. But I struggle to think of a time when something like this scale, has happened. A huge announcement of a corporation moving into an area and then backing out. And I think for whatever aspersions are going to be cast on politicians in New York over this, Amazon, the way it handled this whole thing, this is going to be dealt with, I think, in business school case studies. It looked like a brilliant move, creating this beauty contest, sweepstakes, win Amazon. I don't think it worked out the way Jeff Bezos and company planned.
It may not have, and there are those who say they could have done more to sort of make the ground more fertile for their entrance instead of dealing specifically with the governor and the mayor and avoiding some local officials. That said, this is a blow to the New York economy, to a budget that's $92 billion for fiscal year 20 that I think will be very difficult conceivably to get over. And so many people were focused, John, on the $3 billion in incentives, but not seemingly the $27 billion in tax revenues that was going to be raised by this company over a period of time. It's mind-boggling that this has actually occurred, if in fact it has, that they pulled out, and I think personally, I'm speaking personally here, a very bad day for New York City.
And many of those tax incentives were tied to the generation of high-paying jobs, and they're happening at a time where New York as a state is facing a budget shortfall because of high taxes, causing some folks to flee and maybe reside in other parts of the country with those SALT caps.
And not only that, Morgan, but it also holds out, I would argue, a closed for business sign for the rest of the country. When you're saying to the largest, or certainly one of the largest, most important technology companies in the world, we don't want you, or some are, a vocal minority, frankly, what does that say to others who would consider coming?
We have the statement here from Amazon. It looks like it's about 6 paragraphs. So really explaining, it says, after much thought and deliberation, we decided not to move forward with our plans to build a headquarters in Long Island City. For Amazon, the commitment to build a new headquarters requires positive, collaborative relationships with state and local officials who will be supportive over the long term. While polls show that 70% of New Yorkers support our plans and investment, a number of state and local politicians have made it clear they oppose our presence and will not work with us to build the type of relationships that are required to go forward with a project we and many others envisioned in Long Island City. They go on to talk more about this decision, really, David, getting to the point you just made about this idea of a closed for business.
Interestingly, they do go on to say they don't intend to reopen the search. And so it's not as though they're going to replace this. Obviously, Northern Virginia is getting one part of this split. Originally, it was supposed to be one place, John, as you know, then they went into 2. Now, apparently, they're just going to go back to 1 and perhaps hire more people in the city. Listen, Google has hired thousands of employees quietly for years now, bought enormous amounts of real estate in New York City, did not receive incentives, but short-sightedness is a kind way to describe this for these local officials who certainly when those of us who live here and rely on the services of this city have to wonder how they're going to be met when you can't increase the tax base because you don't want 25,000 high-paying jobs, not to mention all the additional jobs that would have been created in the economic activity.